Hello, my name is Gabe Suarez. Welcome to Advanced Kalaishnikov Rifle Gunfighting. The first DVD in this series focused on basic and intermediate skill levels. And in this production, we're going to go beyond that level. We're going to review some of the fundamentals as requested by some of the viewers, and we're going to get more in depth into some of the advanced movement and displacement methods with a Kalashnikov rifle. So grab your rifle and let's get to training. Like all of our productions, this one we're going to get into safety first. All right. We got into this a little bit more in depth in the basic DVD, so I suggest that you take a look at that one. Now we're going to begin. Number one, treat all firearms as if they're loaded. We're not going to tell you that they're always loaded because you know that they're not, but just treat them that way. That way you're automatically going to be a little bit more careful with it. Number two, be careful with your gun muzzle. Now, some people will tell you, don't let your gun muzzle cover anything you're not willing to destroy. That's impossible. Again, if my rifle was like this, well, I don't necessarily want to shoot any airplanes down, but good heavens. You know, if I'm in a second story of a building, oh, I can't have my muzzle that way. So you know what? Don't get so weird about that stuff. Just be careful with it. That's all. All right. Number three, keep your finger off the trigger until you've made a conscious decision to shoot. I'm not going to tell you until your sights are on the target, because we may be doing some shooting from close contact like that, and your sights aren't going to be on the target. But simply take it to the natural limit of extension until you've made a decision to shoot. Now, while we're talking about that, I'm going to discuss safeties again. With the Kalashnikov rifle, down is for fire, up is for safe. Later we'll be discussing a little bit of the full auto stuff, which has a intermediate position in the middle. But in any case, when you're not expecting trouble, safety remains on. As soon as you deploy, safety goes off and remains off during the duration of the fight until you're done. When you're done, you go ahead and re-engage the safety. But while you're not engaged in shooting, I want that finger to be straight at the natural limit of extension. All right, very simple to remember. And number four, be sure of your target and what's behind it. It doesn't mean you're not going to take a shot. It just means that you need to be aware of your surroundings 360 degrees, because these things sometimes over-penetrate things, and you need to be aware of that. Okay? Just keep those in mind, and we'll move on. He's asking how to set up an AK. This is my personal AK. It's the first one I would grab if I needed one. And I'm going to go through a little bit of what I did to it. This is a rifle built by Jim Fuller on a Polish kit, and it's very nice. I think it's the epitome of the AK system. When you're accessorizing your AK, first thing I'll tell you is keep M4 stuff off your rifle. All right? I think it looks ugly. It certainly doesn't add anything to the performance, so don't do it. Okay? Keep it as AK as possible. Starting at the front here, every AK needs a flash hider. This is a Type 84, and it works very good. Okay, I've got an Ultimac up here and an Aimpoint H1 mounted on it. Also a Veltor side mount with a flashlight. For CQB, you kind of need a light on the rifle. All rifles do not need lights, only if you're going to use one for maybe indoor activities in reduced light. Okay, we'll talk about this setup in a few minutes here. Anytime that you're going to get synthetic furniture for your AK, you might as well get the good stuff. This is Bulgarian. It's got a heat shield on it. It's very, very strong. Same thing with a pistol grip on the buttstock. This is an AK-100 folder that it needs to be built into the rifle when the rifle's being assembled, but it's very good. It's a very strong folding stock. A lot of guys were asking about the safety levers. We do have some extended safety levers that you can employ here. Not a bad thing to add on. Again, don't rely on them too much because you may pick up an AK that isn't equipped like this, okay? The trigger pack is a G2 trigger kit. It's all US parts, so it's compliant with all those laws that we have to worry about. And it's a very nice, sharp trigger brake, so it's almost like a drop-in trigger job. All the magazines that I use for serious work are all the Bulgarian waffle patterns, and I load them up with Korban DPX ammo. It's the best stuff you can get. It's a little pricey, but if that's not an issue, it's not an issue. Very good setup here. Now, the Ultimac is very interesting. It allows you to mount an optic on here in a very low position that'll coincide with the iron sights as far as co-witnessing. We'll show you that in a minute. The Aimpoint H1 is very attractive. It's not cheap, but it's very strong. We've taken this, we've thrown it across the range. It still works just fine. It's got the scratches to show it. The dot is a 4 MOA dot. Very good for CQB, still acceptable for long-range use. And the battery usage, the circuitry in here is so advanced that you could literally leave a battery in for, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years, depending on what setting you have it on there, and for continuous run. Very, very good for a rifle that you're going to have to maybe take somewhere away from civilization. Again, the Veltor mount on the Ultimac allows you to mount a flashlight very close to your sighting platform, so that when you mount the rifle up, you can use it in an appropriate manner. I've got one of these Israeli slings that we're selling now. Some of the guys were asking for longer slings because they're either bigger guys or they wanted to just wear them around their neck and so on. Like a lot of the Israeli military guys do. So we added this, and it's a very comfortable sling, very good quality. You might want to take a look at that. Anyway, this is my go-to AK. If you're going to set one up, this is what I would suggest you do. All right, we're going to review the issue of snapshots. We went over it very quickly in the previous production. We're going to cover it again a little bit more in depth. Basically 3 parts. You got to get your mount right. In other words, that mount has to come up to your shoulder properly. You've got to get the buttstock in your shoulder correctly. You got to get your face on the stock. You cannot do snapshots with your face floating around in space like this. Now, with any of these assault rifles that we see, regardless of whether it's an AK, an HK, whatever kind of K, if you put the entire buttstock on the shoulder like this, there's no connection between your face and the stock. So what you need to do is you need to put the toe of the stock. This guy right here, you need to put the toe of the stock in the shoulder. That's going to carry the rifle high enough so that when you cheek it, okay, your face is going to ride on the stock. You need to do that in order to see the sights correctly and uniform every time. So the mount is important. If you practice only one thing with your rifle, practice the mount. The mount is to the rifle like the draw is to the pistol. All right, so practice this, get it down right. Second thing that you need to do is you need to identify your sights. You need to identify what the pistol folks call a flash sight picture. We're not talking about taking a 300-yard shot or anything like that with this type of shooting. This is for, maybe 75, maybe 100, 75, mostly 50 and in with this, okay? So you need to identify the kind of sights that you need for that, and you're going to determine what that is for yourself with practice. If you're running a red dot sight, that's a big, big shortcut. All you have to do is when you see that red dot on target, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about aligning front and rear or anything like that. Just find the dot, wherever that dot is, that's where your shot's going to go. The third thing you need to do is you need to operate the trigger smoothly, because if you mount the rifle, identify the sights, and then mash the hell out of the trigger, that shot's not going to go where you want it to go, okay? So you need to get your finger on the trigger as you mount the rifle, all right? Control this. Don't be afraid of your trigger, guys. It's your trigger. Control it. Take up the slack, get ready to go. As soon as you've identified the sight sufficiently, go ahead and break the shot, okay? And you'll see that following that process, you'll have good results. 3 steps. Mount the rifle, identify the sights, press the trigger, okay? We're going to go ahead and fire some snapshots here. Initially, we'll go slow, identifying the 3 points, and then we'll go ahead and speed it up, okay? All right, so here we go. From here, all right? Mount the rifle, identify the sights, press the shot, okay? Finger off the trigger, relax. Mount the rifle, identify the sights, press the shot. Finger off the trigger, relax, okay? Now let's mount the rifle, identify the sights together. And then press. Okay, very good. Let's do it again. Okay, mount the rifle, identify, press. Okay, now we're going to speed it up a little bit. Okay, that's your snapshots, an essential part of your rifle training. Okay guys, continuing with our review, the Caveman EOTech, if you don't have the funds to put an aim point on your rifle, it's no big deal. You can certainly shoot with pretty good speed using just what you have on the rifle. Now, right now, what I want you guys to do, watching the DVD, all right, you got a nice full frontal shot of me. I just want you to take your thumb and just put it up so that my chest surrounds your thumb, okay? That is what the Caveman EOTech's concept follows. Basically, what you do is you take your front sight assembly, this guy right here, all right, and you act it like it's a thumb. You just bring it up, and as soon as you see the target, which is me in this case, surrounding your front sight assembly, this right here, I think you're pretty good to go as far as firing the shot, okay? It's a bridge between sighted shooting and point shooting with a rifle, all right? Very, very fast. So as soon as you shoulder the rifle, there's no need to spend a great deal of time verifying your sights like you did with your snapshots. Although it was very fast, you were still spending a little bit of time verifying that your sights were as you expected they would be. With this, you don't need to do that. You don't use the rear sight at all. As soon as you see that front sight assembly on target, you're good to go. Let me do a few for you so you can pick up what I'm doing. Guys, again, we covered this in the first DVD. We're reviewing this because it is very pertinent to what we're going to do today. And I want to make sure we got the fine points down. I am very big on ambidextrous handling of your weapons. Any martial art that you study, no matter what it is, it teaches both sides, the right side and the left side, all right? Only in American shooting do we hear weak side and strong side. Listen, you should not have a weak side and a strong side. You should have a right side and a left side, both equally strong, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to run the rifle both sides, okay? Now the rifle may start out in your right hand. That's fine, okay? It may start off here like this, all right? Now, to put it in the left side, you simply move it around your face and you put the buttstock in the other shoulder, okay? You leave the hands pretty much where they are. You can fire a shot here with no issues, okay? The next thing you do is you simply switch the hands. Change the butt, change the hands, change the butt, change the hands. And you can work this dry at home very easily without any issues, okay? Now again, what am I using for a sight here, okay? I can't really scrunch down and get a good sight picture in a quick manner. I can do it if I take my time, but if I don't have the time, I can use that same Caveman EOTech that we were talking about earlier. If you have an optic on your rifle, very, very easy to go ahead and use the red dot, okay? So basically what we're looking at is we start off here, okay? Then we change, there's the shot. We change, there's the shot. We change, there's the shot. Okay? Very simple, just like we did in the first DVD. Again, everything that we do stationary, we want to be able to do on the move, so we're going to go ahead and move. All we're going to do, guys, is simply walk a couple of steps to the right, and then walk a couple of steps to the left. Very, very simple stuff. As you're moving to the right, the rifle's in the right shoulder. As you're moving to the left, the rifle's in the left shoulder. Okay? Let's take it nice and slow and see how this goes. Okay? Very simple. All right, guys, next thing we're going to talk about is getting off the X. Now, we talked about this briefly in the original production. We're going to enhance how you do this to a greater degree here. We're going to introduce the Piketty takeoff with the rifle. We talked about this in our advanced close range gunfighting DVD pertaining to pistol. We're going to look at it here with the rifle. again, just to reiterate, I've got my adversary right in front of me here, okay? And we have, in essence, a line defining our conflict zone here. Directly in front of me is 12 o'clock. This is where my bad guy is. Directly behind me is 6 o'clock. Now, if he's shooting at me, his shots are traversing along this line. All right? My main objective when I am in a reactive mode here, we're talking about reacting to an ambush, not setting an ambush. All right? So he gets to start shooting, basically. We're looking at this from a reactive perspective. All right, I need to get off this 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock line. It's imperative that I do that. If I try and catch up to him by simply bringing my rifle up and shooting, well, he's already got gunfire coming my way. So I need to change the battlefield for him. All right. If you study the observe, orient, decide, and act cycle, he's on act. He has taken a snapshot mentally of this battlefield, set a decision and set it into action. He's shooting at me now. Now, if I change his battlefield, if I move out of his line of fire, I have basically reset him back to observe. He needs to reevaluate everything, develop a new plan, and put it into action. Hopefully by then, I've taken care of business. Okay? So that's the concept behind it. It's been proven on the street. We prove it in force-on-force simulations repeatedly. Okay? Again, for more on that, get the Advanced Close Range Gunfighting DVD. You'll see how it works with a pistol. With the footwork, guys, most people, when they're going to move away from this zone here, all right, in essence, what they do is they have to, let's say I want to go to my left, all right, what most people will do is they will shift away from the direction of desired travel, all right, shift a weight away from there to unweight this leg. So in other words, if I want to go left, my weight is actually going to the right. That's not necessarily a good thing. Then they fall into that area and continue with their stepping and moving, all right? For most situations, social situations, that's not a big deal. For what we're going to do here, gunfire coming at you, you want to move a little bit quicker, all right? So what we do is we use a technique called the Piketty takeoff. Now, we learned this from our good friend Tom Sotis, is the Amok system. He's been working with us to develop our knife program and so on, and he introduced this to us, and immediately we saw it was a very valuable addition to our Get Off the X methodology. I'm going to set this rifle down for a minute so we can focus on what we need to do. Okay, again, if I'm standing here and let's say I need to go to my left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opposite side foot and I'm going to step out slightly away from that direction, okay? What that's going to do is automatically loads up this leg to push me off into this direction here, okay? So if I want to move to what would be my 9 o'clock, this is the way it's going to work, okay? Again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very short step to the opposite direction of travel. Now again, we identify the front diagonal is 1 o'clock to my right and 11 o'clock to my left. 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock lateral movement, 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock rear diagonal movement, all right? So if I want to move to my 1 o'clock, I'm going to be moving in this direction here, all right? My left foot is going to kick out slightly to what would be the 7 o'clock. So it would look something like this, all right? In essence, what that does is it gets my head and my torso out of the line of fire first and loads up my feet so I can continue my movement much, much faster, okay? If I want to move to my 11 o'clock, this foot is going to kick out slightly to the 5 o'clock, and I'm going to move in this direction, so it'll look like this, okay? And if I want to move to my 3, this way. If I want to move to my 9, this way, okay? You notice I'm not jumping up, okay? The displacement is all lateral or diagonal. It's not vertical, okay? If I want to move to my 5 o'clock, this foot's going to kick out to the 11 this way, okay? And if I want to move to my 7, my right foot is going to kick off to the 1 o'clock. My left foot is going to move to the 7 this way, okay? That's going to get my body off the X much faster. Now let's look at it dry with the rifle. This rifle, by the way, is not an AK, it's a VZ58. We'll talk about this rifle a little bit more when we produce our Kalaishnikov Rifle Armorer DVD, but in essence I'm working with this because of some of our contacts in Czech Republic and Slovakia. This is the rifle that they use, so we're working with it a little bit. In any case, from a ready position here, moving to the 1 o'clock, here, Okay? Now, I'm not waiting to get a perfect sight picture. What I'm using is I'm using the Caveman EOTech, just like we developed earlier. All right? Movement to the 3 o'clock. Here. All right? Movement to the 5 o'clock. Here. Okay? That's the right side of the clock. Now, left side of the clock is a little more complicated because I don't want to keep the rifle in my right shoulder and find that I'm backing up and so on. So this is where that dynamic transfer is going to come in. Okay? Moving to my 11 o'clock. Here. Okay? Moving to my 9 o'clock. Here. And moving to my 7 o'clock. Here. Okay? That's how we integrate the Pikiti takeoff with the rifle. Next thing we're going to work on is 360-degree coverage. This is another theme that we want to introduce in this advanced level, that wherever you happen to be standing, to the limit of your rifle, you control 360 degrees around you at all levels, from standing all the way down to prone, okay? And it'll begin here. Normally, in some training venues, they cover this. They'll address it as response right, left, and rear, for example, or 90-degree and 180-degree pivots, all right? So the concept is not foreign to the training community, but the way we're going to present it is a little bit different. So instead of just pivoting into the target or whatever, we're going to include the Pikiti takeoff to move us offline. Remember, we're in a reactive mode right now, and he's already shooting. So if I stay here, I'm going to get shot. I've got to change this 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock relationship that I have with the target, okay? So we're going to start it a couple of different ways. One, with the target off to my left, okay? My rifle's in my hands and so on. All right, now initially I may not know he's here, but I hear something, some indication he's there, so I turn to look, okay? Now I see him charging or shooting or whatever the case is. I need to change this relationship. The most expeditious way for me to do it is simply to move forward, okay? So what I'm going to do right from here, I'm going to do a Pikiti takeoff, bring the rifle up and fire, okay? Now, why do I move with my left leg? Well, because the rifle's in my right hands and I want to mount the rifle into a viable shooting position right from the get-go, okay? Same type of situation, target off to my right side, okay? Now, normally what a lot of guys will do is they'll try and turn around all the way and then mount the rifle and then get off the X. That takes way too long, okay? So what I'm going to do is, same way, I'm going to look, there's my target, identify it. I'm going to go ahead and do the takeoff, and as I do, I'm going to throw this rifle up into firing position. Now you notice when I do this, I don't sweep the rifle across like this carelessly, okay? I'm going to move it underneath this way. So the only thing the rifle covers is the dirt and my target, okay? Just like that. So it looks, you know, something like this. Here, and there's my shots, okay? Very good. Next thing is target behind you, all right? Right here, this type of thing. Now, what a lot of guys will do, especially because the world is right-handed, they'll have everybody always turn to the left. That's a problem, because what we found is sometimes you'll start off turning to the right, and if you haven't developed a way to address the target with your rifle, you're going to get all befuddled in the mind and you won't be able to catch up with the problem. So what we've noticed is if I'm standing here, wherever I hear the sound first, If it's slightly off to my right, I'm probably going to turn to my right first. If it's slightly off to my left, I'll turn to my left. So wherever I happen to make contact with the target, either to the right or to the left, that's where I need to begin my movement off the X. Okay? So if I'm here and I hear the movement slightly off to my left, I'll turn. There's the bad guy. Okay, no problem. I simply move offline, bring the rifle up and shoot him. That's very simple. Okay? But if I turn this way to my right, again, the rifle is in a position where I can't readily get it up into my right shoulder. So what I need to do is basically the same thing I did earlier. Okay, I'll go ahead and do my takeoff as I bring the rifle up, and I'll make my shots from there. Okay? Again, this is the beginning of that 360-degree coverage concept that we're going to be looking at more in depth in this production. Okay guys, in the basic DVD, we taught you how to do the underarm assault shooting position. Again, to reiterate, it was created by Rex Applegate during the World War II time frame as a sort of an airbag technique. If everything goes wrong and you need to take care of business up close, this is what you would do, okay? It involves, I'll face off in this direction here. Okay, basically it involves when you're moving into position from high port, sudden threat pops up close, you drop into position, you lock it in, the buttstock is under the arm, that's why I called it the underarm assault. You're holding onto the rifle nice and tight from center line of the body under the master eye, and you're firing from here, okay? This is good, you know, for close range, inside a room, a small room, let's say, you know, 3-4 yards, something like that, maybe even out to 5 yards. Anything farther than that, you have time to come up to the shoulder, so no reason why you wouldn't do it, okay? In the basic instruction, we covered this and nothing else. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shoot from here, and then we're going to move off the X using the Piketty takeoff. Again, you've shot the bad guy doesn't mean that he's not going to be shooting back at you at the same time or subsequent to your gunfire, okay? So we want to have that fail-safe concept of getting off the X just in case. I'll demonstrate on the Okay guys, next we're going to take the 360-degree coverage and lower the level a little bit. In the basic DVD, we studied kneeling, squatting, sitting, prone, and all the basic aspects of those. We understand those. We're not going to revisit those in this production. What we are going to do is we're going to address how to cover 360 degrees from each one of these positions. All right. Some of these involve changing the alignment on target of the entire body, transferring the rifle from one side to the other, maybe even raising or lowering the profile a little bit to facilitate movement. Okay. You know, one might ask, why is this important? Well, you may have taken a supported position, maybe to lower your profile, maybe using cover or whatever the case is, and then suddenly behind you, you know, you'll hear some metallic sound or footfall, bad guy sneaking up behind you. If you don't have a method of turning and addressing that problem, you're going to be delayed in your response. Also in a CQB environment, this can be used for displacement. Lowering your profile as you address another angle is also going to become vitally important. It's a good tool to have in your war box, okay? As I said, we're going to address kneeling, squatting, sitting, and prone, as well as a combination of those. Let's look at sitting first. Obviously, this is going to be a dry discussion. In any case, we start off with our kneeling position here, okay? However you can do your kneeling position, it doesn't matter, guys. Okay, so we start off 12 o'clock is straight ahead, okay? So I can fire here with no issues whatsoever, no problem, all right? Now, if a problem comes up at my 3 o'clock, which is directly over here, how am I going to address it? Basically, you just bring the rifle over. Now, you can drop both knees on the ground if you want, okay? This is fine. If you have a lot of upper body flexibility, you can simply turn your body and fire. Either way is acceptable. If I continue to my 6 o'clock, I transfer the rifle to the other side, and now I've got a mirror image of my kneeling position. Okay, so all I'm doing as far as kneeling is one knee down, one knee up, one knee down, one knee up. Guys, it's not as hard as it looks. Okay, this is very easy to do. Okay, so I'm here. Okay, target at 3 o'clock, bam, I got him. Okay, here, target at 6 o'clock, I got him. Okay, very simple. Now for the viewer's perspective, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn around and face the other way. Okay, so now my 12 o'clock is right there. Okay, now if I've got a threat at my 9 o'clock, very simple for me to simply stand up on my kneeling. Okay, so in other words, instead of keeping my rear end on my heel, I simply stand up and I address that threat. If I've got a threat further back, let's say at my 6 o'clock, okay, I'm kind of in a difficult position here as far as movement, okay? I'm either going to go forward. Now, I've got all my weight on my right leg, so for me to step forward now, I could do it, all right, but it's very difficult to do. Instead, I can take this foot and I can shoot it back as if I'm doing a side kick to the rear and get into what we call a Spetsnaz prone that we talked about in the first production, okay? So if I'm here and I've got a threat to my 6 o'clock, there I am. Okay, I can address that very easily and then come back on target as needed. Okay guys, next one is a squatting position. This is it right here. Most of the world eats, discusses business, takes care of their family, teaches, learns from this position right here, among a few other things. It's kind of foreign to a lot of American shooters because you know, a lot of the shooting community maybe spends a lot of time sitting in chairs and so on, and maybe hasn't focused on their fitness levels. This is a very useful position. It's also a very good stretch. I like to sit here and watch TV with the junior staff like this. It not only reinforces my squatting position, but it's also a good stretch for the back. Okay? With the rifle's mounted up here like this. Okay, as we discussed in the original Kalaishnikov rifle gunfighting DVD. All right? Now from here, shooting is very easy. Okay, very positive. Now if I've got an adversary off to my 3 o'clock, what do? Very simple. Just drop the knee and address that adversary. Okay? Very easy to do. Okay? If that adversary is at my 6 o'clock, I'm going to turn all the way around. I'm going to transfer the rifle to the other side. So as I drop this knee, I start transferring the rifle, and I'm good to go right here. Very simple. Okay? If I've got an adversary off to my 9 o'clock, drop the opposite knee, and there I am in a kneeling position. Okay? If I've got an adversary to my 6 o'clock, all I'm going to do is I'm going to roll on this foot and basically go to a sitting position and address the guy behind me. So I roll on this foot and I drop right into a sitting position, and I've got a good shot here. To return, I come back the way I came and I'm good to go. Okay? Okay guys, next one is going to be the sitting position. Now, just a quick word. If you're going to practice this a lot, you might want to get some knee pads. You don't have to spend a lot of money on them, but something to just kind of protect your knees. This Arizona lawn tends to be harsh on the joints, so just a word to the wise. Okay? All right, so I'm in sitting position. All right? Same kind of concept. Bad guy pops up on my right. Okay? Very simple. Just transfer the rifle, and I'm good to go. All right? I find it helpful to just bring the leg in. All right? You don't have to. You can very easily just keep that leg out there without any problems. Okay? Bad guy on your 6 o'clock. Okay? Now, basically, when you're covering 360 from a sitting position, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be transferring from sitting to a double kneeling and back to sitting. Okay? So if I've got a bad guy on my 6 o'clock, this leg comes in, and I roll into a double kneeling, and I fire from here. Okay? And I can continue right back into my sitting position. Okay? Bad guy on my left side to the 9 o'clock. I can bring it up in here and shoot very easy. Okay? If it's a bad guy up on my 6 o'clock, I transfer again to double kneeling, and I can shoot him very easy, and I come right back down to a sitting position. Okay? That's basically it. Very simple. Well, as difficult as most folks find it to shoot from prone and to work from prone, I guarantee you, if you're standing around and somebody starts shooting at you, probably you're going to be in a position very similar to this. Okay? Prone is very attractive under those circumstances. It's also very accurate. You can get down here nice and solid. You can use the magazine as a monopod and all that kind of cool stuff. You can do your most accurate shooting from prone. Okay? Again, looking at the 360-degree coverage issue, we're going to look at it from this position as well. Okay? This is my 12 o'clock. Shooting from here is no issue. Okay? Bad guy pops up on my 3. I need to address that. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left foot here, okay, and I am going to kick it underneath my right foot. By doing that, my hips are going to roll over, and subsequently my shoulders are going to roll over. Now I'm holding onto the rifle tight, and what I'm going to end up with is laying on my back in a supine position, shooting at the target from here. So basically it looks like this. Step number 1 is to take this foot and kick it under here. There's my shot right there. Okay? Very nice. And from here, I simply move the leg back on target and I get back in my prone position. Okay? To address targets on my 6 o'clock from the right, I do exactly the same thing, except I keep going. Okay? So I kick my leg underneath, I roll over, and there's my shot right there. Now what I'm doing is I'm using the bolt handle like that caveman EOTech that we were talking about. Okay? From here I simply move the rifle back up to the target and I follow it into position. Okay? Now to address the bad guy off on my 9 o'clock, no problem. I'm going to do the exact same thing, except I'm going to take my right leg and kick it under my left leg and roll my hips and subsequently my shoulders over. And as I'm rolling over, I'm going to go ahead and transfer the rifle, because if I don't do that, the rifle would be pointing in the opposite direction. Okay, so it would look something like this. Right? The feet go, there I am, I've got my shots. Okay, notice I'm not flaring the elbow up. There's no need to do that. Okay, I drive the rifle back up to where I need to go, and I get back in position. Okay, to address a target on my 6, I do exactly the same thing, except I keep going and don't stop at the 9 o'clock. So again, I take my right foot, I kick it underneath, I roll over, and there's my shots. Okay? That's how I address 360 from prone. Okay, what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to take a look at 3 different calibers here. Basically the 545 by 39, the 556 by 45, aka the 223, and the 762 by 39, which is what most of the AKs in the U.S. are chambered in. All right, those are the rounds right there. A lot of times you'll hear that people will tell you one caliber is better than the other, or whatever. It all depends on what you want to do, okay? For typical urban type environments, there's a controversy. Do you want penetration or do you not want penetration? Well, you know, if you're on a SWAT team and you're going through apartments and doing entries and things like that, you may want low penetration, so one of these other calibers may be appropriate for you. But if you're operating in, you know, what we call the SHTF type situation, where you're outside of that SWAT police type environment or mentality, and you need to reach your adversary, think about it. What would you do if somebody was shooting at you? You would get behind something. You would hide behind something. So the capability to breach cover is important. In this case, it's just an experiment, guys. There's all kinds of cover out there. We couldn't possibly bring everything to the range, but what we are going to do is we're going to shoot through these bricks. We're going to shoot it with 545, 556, and 762, and you'll have the results that you need. You can make an educated decision. Okay, to my right here is Jim Fuller. He's a Suarez International staff instructor and our company armorer. He's the one that builds all these fine AKs that we use in class and carry around with us. Jim is going to be the marksman, so don't miss for the exercise here. First rifle we're going to try is a 545 by 39. It's a short barrel, and shorter barrel means reduced velocities. Let's see what it does on the bricks. Let me get off to the side here, Jim, whenever you're ready. And Jim is taking a seated position to make sure that the barrel and the target are more or less in the same line. Are you ready? Okay, as we see, the round impacted the first part of the brick, did not touch the second part, okay? You can look, it didn't touch the second part at all, left the second brick intact. That's a 545 out of a short barrel. Okay, That's 5.45 out of a standard length rifle, in this case a Polish Tantal, built by Jim. It went through the first part of the brick and the second part of the brick as well, okay? You can see where that second shot went through, but the bullet was destroyed and it didn't even touch the third brick at all, okay? So that's 5.45 out of a standard length barrel. Okay, this we're using a 5.56 by 45. Yes, we actually shot an AR-15. It went through the first part of the brick, did not touch the second part of the brick, okay? This got broken off because of the pressure, but it did not break this at all. Second brick is untouched. Interesting how the 5.45 by 39 actually penetrated a little bit better than the 5.56. And guys, listen, all this ammo that we're using is the kind of stuff you go to the hardware store and buy. It's nothing special, secret, SOCOM, nothing. Regular ammo that you can buy at the store. Well. Okay, that was standard length AK. Wolf Military Classic. Went through the first part of the brick, the second part of the brick. Did not penetrate the second brick, which was actually a little bit of a surprise, but I mean, there it is, okay? Did dispose of a lot of force. You see it knocked this brick down, whereas the others, you didn't have that type of effect. So anyway, there it is, okay? Standard military ball, standard AK length. Okay, that was Corbon DPX ammo out of a standard length AK. You can see pretty dramatic results in terms of the first brick. It actually shattered it in half, did not touch the second brick at all. Okay? Interesting results. Okay, next thing we're going to look at is the ability of these rifles, these various calibers, to penetrate through brush. Brush is important. You may not find it in an urban area, but then again, you very well might. In an a rural area like this, you know, you got brush everywhere. The ability to penetrate through is going to become very important to you. Okay, that's what was one of the complaints of the 5.56 during earlier conflicts that involved maybe jungle warfare and things like that, as told to me by the guys that were there. Anyway, we're going to start off with a 5.45. We have a bad guy in the back there. X marks the spot. This is a standard issue Arizona bush. It's very green because we're in the middle of the monsoon season. We've got a combination of different shrubs here. I have no idea what they're called, but it's brush. So let's see what happens. I'm going to get down here kind of low. Now I can still see that X. I'll take a shot at it and we'll see what happens. All right. Okay, the round went through. Now I was aiming right here, okay? Even with a little bit of a drop, we had that round get knocked out of axis by a good, maybe what, 8 inches or so. And you can see by the entrance wound, it's really just a fragment of a round, and it came in at an oblong way. So this little standard issue Arizona bush, you know, was pretty good in deviating the path of the 5.45 by 39. Now we're going to use the same target, so keep in mind, remember where that spot is. Okay, next one we're going to look at is a 5.56 by 45. I don't have a 5.56 AK, so I'm forced to use the AR, okay? But I promise I'll take a shower when I'm done. Okay, here we go, let's take a look. is going to be standard length AK, standard military ball. Let's see what this does. I aimed right in the center, was about maybe half an inch low. The brush didn't seem to get, in the way at all. In fact, I think when I fired, you saw that it actually hit a couple of branches on the way in. No big deal. 30 caliber round, more than twice the weight of the other rounds. You're not going to have any problem punching through brush. Okay, I know this is a rifle DVD and I have a shotgun in my hands, but since we're here, why not? This is a very excellent Sega shotgun put together. It's SBR, or I think it's actually SBS, isn't it? Short barrel shotgun, put together by the excellent folks over at Tromix. Just for the heck of it, let's see what this will do through brush, okay? Same kind of thing. Now, I want to tell you, the shotgun is not made for what we're doing, but since we're here, why not? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, all pellets hit. Again, not with the accuracy of a rifle, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all of them on board. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Okay, guys, one question that I got a lot in private messages and email and so on was, how do you disable the AK? Let's say you already have your rifle and you shoot the bad guy and you need to go and, shoot some more bad guys or whatever, and there's the bad guy's AK, all right? What's to keep another bad guy from coming up and grabbing it and making it work? Well, there's a way to disable this real easy and real quick. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start taking parts off of this and keep trying to shoot it so we have an idea of what's possible, okay? I've got a pretty good magazine right here. All right, so I'm just going to fire a shot. Okay, here we go. We know that the AK works. There's my shot. Okay, cool, no problem. All right, now you can take the top cover off. All right, still works, no problem. Okay, take the recoil guide off. Now, what's going to happen is if I fire this, this is going to move back, but it's going to jam up the gun. Okay, so if
have you done this before?
Oh yeah.
And that bolt ain't coming back on your face?
No, you got to secure the bolt though. You got to hold on to it tight. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch and become a left-handed guy, okay? So that as I shoot I can maintain the bolt in place like this. Okay? So here we go. All right? Fired just fine. Now, I can eject, I can reload. Okay? And I can fire again. So I've got basically a bolt action AK in a sense. You guys in California, pay attention. Just kidding. All right. So if I want to disable the AK, taking that out doesn't work, taking this out doesn't work. What I need to do is rip this thing out, okay, and take it with me or chuck it away so that somebody that comes across this doesn't have a usable rifle, okay? My thumb didn't break off. I got a little bit of, dust and stuff like that on it. Big deal. All right, so that's what I would do to disable the AK. We're going to revisit transitions to pistol. All right, now the first thing I want to tell you is, look, anything is possible when you're standing stationary on the range and you're holding your rifle. So, you can do all kinds of little different maneuvers and whatnot when you're standing here on the range. Let me ask you this. You're standing on the range, somebody's shooting at you, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be jumping to get behind cover, okay, or you're going to be moving off the X, or option number 3, you're just stupid, okay? I don't want to get shot, and I don't think you want to get shot either. So always keep in mind, you're shooting somebody because they're shooting at you, okay? So if you're not behind cover, you need to be moving to cover or moving away from his gun muzzle, standing there and trying to shoot a tight group while he's trying to shoot a tight group at you. I mean, come on, think about it. Common sense, guys, okay? Anyway, you know that we favor 2-point slings. I'm not going to go over this again because, you know, I've published my reasons a lot. But basically, we're looking, and I'll do it stationary first, and then we'll do it on the move, just to you know, give you an idea. Okay, so I'm pointing at the camera like this, okay? My hand could be anywhere on the rifle, doesn't make any difference, okay? When the time comes that I press the shot and the trigger is dead for whatever reason, okay, my initial reaction needs to be to get rid of the rifle. Now, the way I get rid of the rifle is I lift it up over my head and I drop it on my back just like this, okay? Now, look at that motion again, guys. This is something you need to practice, because when I teach this in class, guys, they got the windmill going on and their rifles floating around all over the place. Look at where the rifle goes. It lifts up and it drops on my back, period. It doesn't do anything else, okay? Now, at the same time that I'm doing this, all right, now you got to have a man-sized sling, all right? Don't get some, you know, little, you know, small thing that you can't transition with, okay? All right, so as I'm doing this, as I throw it on my back, right when I get to this point here, I'm obtaining my pistol, and it's very, very quick, okay? If I'm working the rifle left-handed, because again, remember, we are ambidextrous when we run these rifles. You got a couple options, okay? One, you grab the rifle and hold it this way, okay? So I grab it by the magazine and I turn it horizontal, and then I take my head in my hand and I drive right through the loop, okay? That's one way, okay? Now again, as I do that, from here, grab the rifle, dive through the loop, and the pistol comes out, okay? All right? The other option for this was actually developed by one of our staff instructors, Tom Cornelius, okay, and what he says is simply, okay, the rifle stops, grab the rear sling swivel, drop it on your back, and present the pistol, okay? That's actually very smooth as well, okay? So either way. Now, the thing with this is that it's basically on your shoulder. Nothing says that it's not going to slip off your shoulder and tangle up and so on. I really prefer to have the rifle across my back, but you know, you do what's going to work for you. Your equipment and so on may dictate what's going to be available to you or not, okay? But again, you look at the travel of the rifle. It comes up and it goes back. It doesn't swing off to my right or to my left. And, you know, one thing I see a lot is that guys will do this. You know, it looks like they're swimming through mud or something like that. Guys, listen, watch carefully, okay? My hand goes through, I run it across my hand, I throw it on my back. What did that muzzle cover? Nothing but the target, the ground, and the area behind me. That's it. Okay, economy of motion, right? Let's look at it one more time just to make sure we have it right. Right from here, throw it on your back. Caveman simple, okay? Okay, next thing we're going to do is just show you that transition while we're on the move. Okay, remember, you've got your rifle in your hand, bad guy's there. We're talking CQB stuff now. You see his weapon starting to come up. You get off the X, you bring your rifle up, you work the trigger. Okay, trigger doesn't work. Most people, what they do, because they haven't worked these skill sets on the move, they'll freeze. All right? They got the idea of moving off the X, but good grief, now they got to do something different. And so they'll freeze to make their transition to pistol. Big, big, big mistake. Okay? Do it on the move. So you get going with the rifle on the move, you work the trigger, trigger doesn't work, drop it on your back, and then on the move you present the pistol and make it work. Okay? Let's look at that real time. Okay? Okay, just like we did this situation in the pistol DVD, we're going to do it as well here with the rifle, because this type of situation may present itself to you. Now, we have two of our corporate vehicles out here, you know, to simulate a channelized area. Use your imagination, guys. Think hallway. Think between two parked cars. Think any channelized area where you don't have the ability to get off the X as readily. Okay? And you come up against the bad guy over here. Okay? Now we're going to look at both sides, right and left. If I tend to be more toward the left side of the hallway, and the bad guy pops up, starts getting his weapon to bear on me, the only area I have to move to is this side over here. Okay, so I'm going to move to this side. I'm going to bring the rifle up and fire like this. Remember this partial transition? We've gotten off the X. If he tracks me with his pistol or rifle, which when we work this, invariably it happens, he comes right across and tries to shoot me. So what I do is I lower my profile, and as I lower my profile, I go ahead and change hands, and I go back to a standard left side position. I fire my shots here, and I continue getting off the X and moving in and shooting. Okay, so basically it looks something like this. Okay, let's look at the other side. If I'm standing over here toward the right side of the hallway or area, and the bad guy comes up to shoot me, okay, the only area I have to move to is my left. All right, so I'll go ahead and move to my left. I'll fire my shots this way, lower my profile for the same reasons, because he's going to be tracking me, and I need to lower my profile and fire my shots here. As soon as I feel that he's starting to track me, I'll come back up and change my angle again. It's about constant motion, guys, so that he's always trying to catch up, and by the time he does, it's too late for him. Okay, looks like this. Okay guys, we've come to the end of the production here. I want to thank you for buying this DVD, Advanced Kalashnikov Rifle Gunfighting. I want to thank my good friend Rich G for filming and editing the package. I want to thank Jim Fuller, our company armorer, for these fine rifles and the use of his special equipment. I want to thank Dan Agakian for the sneaky bags, a fine piece of equipment that we use routinely in classes. I also want to thank Sheehan from Sheehan Chest Rigs for his chest rig, and Dale Fricky for his E-Hood holster, which is a smoking fast holster. I'm not fast, the holster makes me fast. So all of these pieces of equipment you can examine further at our web store, One Source Tactical. And listen guys, we showed you a lot of stuff about how to run the AK. We like things that work. We like things that are reliable. We're not into gun jewelry or museum pieces or anything like that. We like things like the AK for what they are, for the AK. And we showed you some very interesting ways to run these things in class in the DVD here. But you need to maintain your training. You can't just watch the DVD and absorb these things by osmosis. You got to get out and train it, and you got to come to class, because you know, it may take the eye of an instructor to fine-tune some of your techniques. Once you have them right, they're very simple. You'll remember them. But do come to class and fine-tune what you're studying. Also keep an eye on Infidel Media Group, because we're going to come out with a few more AK DVDs, some other areas that maybe are a little bit too in-depth to include in this one. Who knows, also maybe some ComBlock weapon system DVDs for you to examine. So keep an eye on Infidel Media Group for that. And again, thank you, and God willing, we'll get to train again soon. But if I'm here and he comes at me from the front, okay? Now, the first thing, you notice my position. In the old days when they taught close quarter shooting, what did all the guys that were shooting do? They lean back to get away from, no, don't do that. Make him lean back, okay? So I'm here like this. If he comes in from the front, okay, there's my shots. I think those are gonna hurt, okay? If he comes in from the side, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna raise my elbow up into his face. There's my shots right there, okay? If he comes at me from the side here, okay, I'm gonna strike him here. At the same time, I'm gonna hit him from below.